Today's Elko Live featuring our guest, as we do once a month. We're catching up with local law enforcement here on KELK. Sitting alongside our city police chief, Tyler Trouten, we have our Elko County Sheriff, Aitor Narvaiza. Hi, always great to see you, gentlemen. Welcome, Ty.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
A lot to talk about today, and so we can get right to it. There's some serious issues we're going to talk about, but Sheriff, I want to make sure that we kind of start and then we end today's program with some really happy news, and that we're going to be revisiting the annual Carl Cox Memorial Cops and Burgers event.
That's coming right up, it's a good day, so start putting in your orders, and Chief Trouten, I'll make sure you get them, along with Justin and the undersheriff and lieutenant, everybody. So place your order and we'll deliver all your food.
Hamburgers, hot dogs, chorizos, chips, and a drink for just a $6 contribution. You can make it more.
Yeah, you can make it more. None of the money goes towards Special Olympics. We'll have some athletes there. We'll get some raffle off items, and so all the money we make goes towards our kids.
So you want to place orders now. The event is actually June 19th in the Sheriff's Office parking lot from 11 to 2, but now is the time to email your orders by June 18th. Give Armida an email order, amarin@elkocountynv.net, and she'll make sure that those get delivered.
Yep, yeah, we'll make sure. We order... bad thing about those, our vehicles smell like hamburgers for a few days. But,
chorizos, that's not so bad.
But, Chief Trout and I, we do it all, and we deliver food all day, so it's nice.
That is nice. And we wanted to mention that there'll be some Special Olympics competition this weekend.
Yeah, we have our annual track and field, so we'll have athletes from Winnemucca, the Elko area, so they'll be at the Spring Creek High School this weekend. On Saturday, and so we'll do the track and field and give them their awards, and it's a good time. It's a lot of fun to watch them do all that good work on a hot day.
Yeah, and they love to have fans come and cheer them on, and then where your donations are going for the 2025 Cops and Burgers. Again, this is in memory of Carl Cox. He started doing this. He was a volunteer with Special Olympics, but he was also a much respected, long-time employee of the Elko County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, he was there many, many years, and that was Carl. You can't say enough about Carl.
Right.
Carl always had that grin and smiling, and he was really into the Special Olympics, so kudos for him. And he passed away some time back, but we still honor him by the Cops and Burgers.
Yep, raising money for Special Olympics. So, Chief, I think your department pitches in with that. I think the sheriff mentioned.
Yeah, always try to help with that. And I was going to, add, as we go around and deliver the burgers, he had mentioned there's the raffles and stuff. You don't have to go down to the sheriff's office to get the tickets. We always have the tickets with us, so we can, sell you tickets for the raffle or, different items, because they have some that are a specific raffle for some of the bigger items. So, have your cash ready. It's a great program. You can't help but have fun when you're helping these kids and stuff. So, like I said, get your orders in. As the sheriff said, call in ahead. It went really smoothly last year because we had a whole bunch of orders and everything flowed just right. It was very smooth, and we got a lot of burgers and hot dogs, chorizo out pretty quick.
Yeah, some of them were like 25 orders, 32 orders. Like,
wow. Well, it's nice to know, gentlemen, that both of you have skills for when retirement finally hits.
Yeah, we'd be doing DoorDash.
We do DoorDash. It's a good one.
Definitely. Talking with our sheriff, Aitor Narvaiza, and our city police chief, Tyler Trouten. And so we'll dive into some of the business, and we've had a couple of happenings in the last couple of days. So, Sheriff, I guess we can start with a plane that landed with some fuel pump trouble unexpectedly out at O'Neill Basin.
Yeah, this guy was fine taking photographs of the scenery, and he encountered some engine failure, and I believe his fuel pump went out, and he actually got the plane turned around, found an abandoned road there in O'Neill Basin, and unfortunately when he landed, he ran out of road. There was a little turn in the road, and he was going too fast to make that turn, and his landing gear broke and caused him to flip on its nose, but no injuries. Had some damage to the wing helicopter, to the wing and the wheels and blades, but he walked away free, so no injuries at all. So he got lucky. We got lucky on that one.
Oh, is he a local pilot?
He's from the Wells area.
Okay. And flying solo?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he made it. that's all we could ask for the gracious. He made it, you know.
Yeah, that is good news. And then we had a very visible wreck at the intersection of 5th and Cedar about 4 or so in the afternoon.
Yeah, actually about 6th and Cedar. And, you know, of course, it's the time of that year. The state flowers full bloom. All the orange traffic cones are out. And it's interesting that you can have a construction zone anywhere in the area, and it frustrates people throughout the entirety of their drive. We're just getting ready here for high school graduation to come up, kids to be out of school, all these things. And we're already having some pretty significant wrecks. It's fairly unusual to have a rollover in the city when you're in a 25-mile-an-hour speed zone. But that's what happened. Individual did not stop the stop sign, come out and collided with another vehicle driven by a woman and her daughter. Again, just very minor injuries, nothing substantial, but did flip their vehicle onto the side. The message is always the same. People just take it easy. Roll down the windows, enjoy the spring air, the trees and bloom, things like that. Don't get in a hurry and just be careful. Look, it's always a mess. And of course, the other driver, a young man, sure this is going to have some pretty significant impacts on insurance and everything else, not to mention the repairs to vehicles. So again, please just be careful.
All right. So again, the result of apparently, according to witnesses and folks, running a stop sign. So that's what caused that accident there yesterday. Again, fortunately, no injuries. Nobody was taken to the hospital.
Nobody taken to the hospital.
Okay, good. We saw the ambulance rolling up, but that's always what happens. So yeah, as a precaution. And so that does bring us to another topic. We saw the police department sent out a notice recently. Sorry about that. And that has to do with keeping intersections clear. We ought to remind people how to drive again. I'm sure that the sheriff's nodding about this too.
So no shock to anybody who resides or drives through this community, we have traffic issues. Especially during the rush hours. There's just too many people trying to go to one place, and it ends up clogging the intersections, and people, they don't quite make the green turn arrow or the hazard turn arrow, but then they'll stop in the intersection and they can't go forward because the next light is red. Now you're impeding traffic going the other way. We've sent these out periodically, but just take a few seconds. It's really not going to matter, in delaying you, because by the time the light changes, they get to go, it'll be your turn to go on a green turn arrow anyway. So again, to the community, do not stop in the intersections, even if it's an uncontrolled intersection. It doesn't hurt to be courteous. People trying to, south side on 5th Street there by Ellison's and Joe's Market, same thing. You can let people in. It's not going to, destroy your timetables. Just let one car in, or just to be courteous to folks.
There is legislation. I mean, this is a Nevada law, because I know I've been driving, and I'm not saying, hey, I'm goody two shoes, because I'm guilty just like anyone else, thinking, well, I'll pull out and then I'll turn as soon as the light's yellow. But then I've also done the other where you keep the intersection clear, and then people behind you seem to get irritated, or you've let somebody in and they're like, you don't have to be Mr. Nice Guy. This is, what I mean. So there's a law, though.
Well, and again, there's all kinds of laws that can address these things, right?
Yeah, and we don't need any more.
Road rage is one of the issues and stuff. Always people get frustrated. But the sad part is, and you can experiment with this, you can drive like a yahoo, weave in and out of traffic and do all this stuff. You're not gaining anything. The way the traffic lights work and everything, and traffic congestion, it's going to take you the same amount of time to get from A to B. You really don't gain that much. And in fact, many times I think all you do is add to your frustration, because you're trying to gain that advantage, and then you get stopped at the next light.
Fred McCown, who's been retired from the police department. Oh my gosh, he works at the Elko County Courthouse. He screens folks coming in and out, or in. He gave the best advice. He just said, just do the speed limit, and you will sync with the lights. And you know what? He's right. It's true. It doesn't matter how much traffic is out there. If you're doing the speed limit, it magically lines up, right?
Yeah.
What made you laugh about Fred? Just thinking.
It's just, what? Freddie and Ty and I go back a long time ago, and he's just a good guy.
Oh, he is a great guy.
Every time I talk to him at the courthouse, and Troy James is there now.
Yes.
So you get this old timer up there, and it's nice to see Freddie and Troy up there and just talk to him, and so it's nice. So when I talk to Freddie, he just makes me laugh all the time. I just like that little guy.
he is a great he's a great officer, and crazy about his wife too.
Yeah.
So yes, she's wonderful. So I mean, gosh, Chief, that's, we're here on the radio today talking about any number of things, friendships, obviously, the camaraderie of the local law enforcement, the fact that you two sit down and do these radio shows once a month. It's really meaningful. We hope it doesn't change because I know you're retiring and they're interviewing your potential replacement right now.
Yeah, so round one of the interviews is done. We had a total of 13 applications come in. Those were narrowed down by those that met all qualifications and so forth. I think there were 6 to go forward to the first interview, and 2 chose to withdraw. One, I'm not sure the reason. He was from out of state. The other subject just basically said, nah, I don't think that's the right time for me. So 4 interviews, that's been cut down now to 3 to the second board. Once they get done with the second interviews, I believe they're looking at a special council meeting to do the final interview by the city council, and hopefully we'll have a selection for a new police chief pretty quickly.
All right. The special meeting, as you said, because this is going to be in public. These interviews will be conducted in public.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, again, always encourage the public to get involved, no matter what the topic is. But this one specifically, they need to come out. They need to see these folks. As I recall, the last time they went out for like an outside chief, which was Ben Reed Jr., it seems like there was comments, questions from the public. This was down at I think they held it in the Red Lion, a special place, because they expected larger crowds, and they had it. It seems like that started out in the morning, but this is a good opportunity. Come see, come meet, find out about these folks. So.
And we don't know the date yet. It will be a special meeting, as you described. You're hoping to get someone on board as soon as possible so that there will be some transition time before you leave in July.
Yep, exactly. It's always nice to kind of have that transition time, pass the torch, pass information things. I believe they're looking around mid-June for that special meeting. So coming up quickly, I think the next interviews might even be as early as the following week. Not next week, but just the following week, and it should happen pretty quickly after that. But there's still, again, steps that have to happen after that, background investigation, different things, but they should be able to extend an offer after the council meeting.
All right. Well, thanks, Chief Tyler Trouten. Of course, edging closer to retirement.
Yeah, not long here, scrambling, trying to get everything wrapped up that's been started. We're just almost there on the complete policy procedure rewrite for the agency. It's been a multi-year effort using CLIA certified policies, procedures. A lot of the procedures you have to append to fit your agency and different things, but hope to have that all wrapped up. That's something that I don't know our agency has ever done. I think we may have started a CLIA effort clear back in the early to mid 90s with Lieutenant Ladd. And that's kind of, that effort's been our policy since, but so much has changed in 30 years.
Can you remind us what CLIA is?
Certified law enforcement agency. So it's really just another review level, looking at your agency's policies, procedures, make sure that they're best practices and substantiated by not just codified law but also case law. Okay,
thanks, Chief Trouten. And Sheriff, I don't know, any thoughts on who might replace Chief Trouten? We're not really talking about if they're internal candidates, or we figure that'll kind of come out in the public meeting, I'm sure. I don't know if you're talking about that, if they're internal candidates or. So no. There are no internal candidates. One person who is certainly qualified and capable and has, crossed all the T's, so to speak, to do so. The problem is we started at the same time. So that person will be ready to retire. Yeah, he's actually able to retire starting June. He is not going to retire. He's currently back at the National Academy right now, but we would like to have a longer than just a couple-year commitment as the chief, just so you have that continuity and so forth. And I don't believe that he wants to commit to 5-6 years of being a chief. Because you've been the chief for 6 years. I'm in my 6th year right now, correct. Okay, yep. Thanks. So, any thoughts on who you might like to see? Is because your colleagues, you work together.
Whoever they pick, obviously the council's going to make the right decision, and whoever the new chief is, we'll sit down, like Ty and I, we'll have coffee, lunch, whatever, and we'll make decisions together, and we support it, and we'll just keep working along like we always have. So nothing will change much. We still support, and we'll support the city and support Ty get out, but I don't think much will change.
Well, one of the hopes you talked about, the kind of the transition period, is the hope would be at least my final week, if not more, be able to go around and introduce the new chief to various entities and people around town. Again, this is a community that knows each other, and they're going to have to assimilate into that, and it's always useful to have the introduction rather than just cold shot somebody. And
Yeah,
so.
It's been interesting to be obviously in this position, but I mean, over the decades of folks working in law enforcement, Claire Morris retired from both police department and the sheriff's office, and now he's sitting on the city council. So you've got the benefit of having that kind of insight. Chief Reed, he was a big personality, and he really fit kind of easily into the community, and he made some changes. He really did. He was brought in to make some changes, and then encouraged you because you were promoted from within the department. So, yeah.
Well, and one of the benefits Chief Reed had too is he didn't just moved here to be the chief. He was already living here, so it already established some contacts. But again, the right personality, knowing that you have to get out, you have to get to know the people. I think in some of these larger agencies, you might to get to know certain individuals and stuff, but it's just too large to really know the community in depth. So that's going to be a key tenet of the new chief's duties.
So we'll see in the days and weeks to come, things are going to start picking up pretty quickly in replacing our outgoing city police chief, Tyler Trouten. But as you just heard, he's working right up until the last day, it sounds like, getting that CLIA update. So thanks for that. It sounds like that's a big goal of yours.
Yeah, we probably won't go for the CLIA right now. That does involve significant expense, but policies, procedures be going to Pool Pact for review, go through the city, have to be approved by council as well. But just working on the rewrite, there's literally thousands of pages.
Well, this is one chief that hasn't shied away. You've also been active in legislative efforts, and if we get some time, I did want to mention too, I think there's one bill in particular that you were able to influence at the governor's level, certainly the AG and others, and we can mention that. But I did want to shift over, Sheriff, and talk to you about, we've had some homicides recently in Elko County, and you have some persons of interest, at least in one case, in the murder of Carlos Aguilar from West Wendover. That's the most recent.
Yeah, that's correct. That was just a couple of weeks ago. Detectives been putting in a lot of time. They did make 2 arrests. They were driving the suspect's vehicle that was reported stolen. So they are people of interest. The vehicle was taken from Idaho, got a warrant to bring it back to Nevada to the crime lab, and it was gone through. There was some good evidence in there. We just got the vehicle back, so now the evidence has to be processed, and we'll wait for the lab information. And our DA is working with the DA in Idaho, so we're moving forward. So they are people of interest, and we just keep plugging along, and we have to dot our I's because we only get one shot at this. So it has to be done right, and with Tyler's help and the DA in Idaho, it's moving forward very well.
All right. Well, obviously, we're not going to discuss details because, again, they are being held. They are in custody, the 2 suspects, but unrelated charges to the murder.
People of interest.
People of interest. It's important to note, yes. And so they're not being held locally, right?
No, they're
Okay.
one person did get out in just the last few days. One's still in there.
Okay.
So, like I said, Tyler's working with the Idaho DA, and we're trying to put it all together, and we've got very strong leads, and
Okay.
we'll move forward.
Work in progress. And we'll talk more about that, obviously, as the information becomes available. There's nothing that we would want to do to jeopardize this investigation.
Correct.
That's really important. So thank you, Sheriff.
No, thank you.
Any other cases or big work that I know I mentioned to the chief? We might mention some of our unsolved. I mean, we've had some reports of missing or even runaway juveniles recently.
Sheriff? The juvenile, we've looked all over. We've called other states because they're supposedly in this state, and we've had law enforcement from other states go to where this juvenile supposedly was. And had other agencies do the same thing, and we've turned up nothing. So as of right now, she's still considered a runaway. We don't believe she's here, but people say, hey, so and so is here, and we go there and it's not her. So we're still looking, and we keep getting those calls. We'll keep sending deputies out and police officers to those addresses, and hopefully we make contact with her soon.
This is difficult because essentially they're children. I mean, they're under age 18, whether missing or runaway. Obviously, there's a relationship that you have to have with family because they have to report someone that's missing. They don't just put it on social media, right?
You know, the thing with these runaways, some of these runaways we don't get informed of till 4 or 5 days later.
And the chief is nodding. Yeah.
Yeah, you know. So when we actually get the report, hey, this person is ran away. Well, how long has she been gone? Well, she's been gone, or he's been gone 5-6 days. And 5-6 days, you can cover a lot of territory in the United States, you know. So it's very important that if you feel that your child isn't runaway, you need contact. Nothing says they have to be reported 24 hours. So as soon as you feel that person is no longer at the residence, you need to call law enforcement and we'll start right away instead of 5, 6, 7 days later.
Okay, that's important. That's an important distinction. You don't wait 24 hours, and you can do forensics on electronics on people's phones.
Yep, there's definitely methods there. You know, one of the sheriff hit it right on the head, that one of the biggest hurdles we have to overcome is people delay reporting. Either their own, I guess, lack of confidence that the child's really, you know, run away or maybe missing. Sometimes it's because they don't want their child to get into trouble. Once listed as a runaway, it generates a paperwork, a trail, and potentially charges for that juvenile as running away, being a child needing supervision, whatever it may be. So sometimes people don't want to come forward, and you know, as the sheriff said, the longer it goes before they report, the harder it is to find them, because they can change phones, they can change vehicles, clothes, directions of travel. Everything just multiplies. And then really you start coming down to, depending on how much information, you know, just sometimes getting lucky and some officer somewhere stopping the vehicle they're in or finding them, coming across them to have them picked up in the national database. So, you know, again, better to report and they come home on their own than not report and we're so far behind that we just don't have that likelihood of finding them sometimes.
And it is made much more difficult, too, with the thought that, you know, you may know your own child, or you think you know your own child or teenager. But now with the luring and the human trafficking that we have, Chief, that's the real concern.
And Nevada is, I believe, the worst in the country for child trafficking, specifically child sex trafficking, which makes sense. We know we've got, you know, legalized brothels in some areas, which helps us to ensure they're not juveniles. But then you go to areas that don't have the legal brothels, and they have the escort services, and they have illegal prostitution. It's just I guess the kind of the perfect environment for these traffickers to work, and they absolutely do. They're constantly looking for, you know, children because they're easier to manipulate, and you know, basically take them on that. So again, cannot stress enough, immediate reporting. You know, accurate information. It always helps when the parents have or the guardians have a recent photo. They know what the child was wearing, who they associate with. You mentioned the digital, you know, tracking via phones, different things like that. But we come across parents who don't even know who their children associate with, in or out of school. That's problematic. They aren't aware if their child has been talking to someone online and that person's grooming them so that they can meet with them and take them. You need to be involved in your child's life. And I've not seen anything that says a child has any right to internet or, you know, cell phones. They might have to have a Chromebook from school, but they don't have to have all these other things. Be involved and be careful.
Talking with our police chief, Tyler Trouten, and Sheriff Aitor Narvaiza, again, it's important that you have that information.
Yeah, it's very important. We can get on it right away.
All right. Let's move on and talk about maybe some of these unsolved that we have, at least in the city of Elko, and this has been in your career. I believe his name was Bill Ravenel, reported as missing. It was a cold winter time, and I guess he may have left behind a wallet and keys at a motel and vanished.
So it appears he was seen, his direction of travel was towards the river from the hotel located on Idaho Street. Left items behind, I believe it was November, and it was kind of a blizzard rolling in. We've done multiple searches, but we have yet to find any remains or find him. Has not been heard nor seen from since that time, and it's been quite a while now. I believe that was 2012, 2013, if my memory serves me right, top of my head. So it's been quite some time ago. We just followed up on a potential lead here about 9 months ago. Some remains were found and were close enough out of Wyoming. No luck. So you just don't know. I mean, it is possible that they, got onto a train, maybe left the area, maybe intentionally trying to disappear, but probably the greatest likelihood is the remains are out there somewhere.
All right. And again, Mr. Ravenel left behind, obviously, family who are very concerned, and that's who you communicate with. These cases may be cold, but they're certainly not forgotten, especially when you're nearing the end of your career. I'm sure you wish you could wrap up.
Yeah, you always look back, and whether it's cases that are still unsolved or, just cases that, wish could have gone better, if you could have got a little bit more, would it have made the difference on some of these folks. But the other two were homicides occurred in 2014 and within just days of one another, within just yards of one another. One initially as a missing person, remains later found out in the county off of Last Chance.
Mr. Gomez?
Mr. Gomez. And then Lawson, who was just a short distance away. On some of these you have information, you have leads, but we are not that close for the probable cause side and the arrest on some of these. But yeah, we still keep in contact with family members and friends of those individuals. Again, everybody wants to see these things solved and the people who did this held accountable.
Richard Lawson Jr. was his name, and again, it's never too late to come forward with information. So it could be that one missing piece.
Yeah, a lot of times people think it may not be significant. The sheriff's talked about, anything comes in, you follow up on it until you can preclude that as being, the missing juvenile or, a true lead or anything like that. But always encourage people to come forward and, help us out on these things. People do see things. Sometimes I think they're just reluctant to come forward.
All right, but it could make a difference. And you can speak to someone anonymously if that's easier for you to do so. And then, Sheriff, we know that the big one that you inherited was Schaffner Jane, and things tend to come in, and you follow through, and we won't know until we know.
You know what? It's very positive.
Good.
We're still working on it. We're waiting on some information from the FBI. And once we get that, we move forward, and I think we can get this to an end.
That'll be one that you'll be able to resolve during your career, and that'll be satisfying. Yeah.
It started just right after before I started, and it's been 34 years. And what's sad is, I don't know if you've ever been to her grave site, and that's sad because her headstone says, "Who am I?" Right? And we'd like to put a name to it and give her the proper burial, and then we can move forward. And but what's crazy is nobody's actually come forward and said, "Hey, my daughter's been missing for 30 years or 25 years," and that's the crazy part. But it's very solid right now, and I think you're gonna like the outcome here as soon as we get that, because it's a good case.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. Yeah, that's a tough one for all of us who've been following that one, as you mentioned, for decades. So it would be nice to see that one resolved as much as possible. So while we can kind of conclude with you, unless we have any other, we'll mention again Cops and Burgers, but graduation is right around the corner, and we just want graduates and families and friends to be safe.
That's I know the part, kids and everybody's graduating, and just keep your kids home. Make sure they're safe. Got all that construction in Spring Creek. Traffic coming in and out of the school on graduation day is going to be hectic. It's going to be crazy, and the same in the city. So just be careful. Take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Just watch for everybody else. It's not that you're a bad driver. You got to watch what everybody else is doing. So just enjoy your graduation, and please be safe.
Traffic will be down to one lane there in Spring Creek because of the roundabout construction,
Correct.
Sheriff? Okay.
Correct.
So that will be continuing.
Yeah, we'll try to get some troopers, deputies out there to control some of that traffic, so just bear with us. We'd stop traffic for a minute or two, let a bunch of cars leave the parking lot, and we'll get going again. And so both people coming in now, they're going to have to just take some turns, and we'll make it happen.
All right. And there'll be students just as excited in city limits and outlying communities, right, Chief?
Yep, always. And, Sheriff talked about, take care of your children and stuff. They are going to have sober graduation parties both places, which are awesome. But again, we know we got traffic problems. We know we've got construction problems. If you're not part of the graduation and you're trying to get somewhere, you need to be aware of that. And I would encourage you leave earlier. Just expect extra time. Worst thing, we've had a pretty good run. The worst part is you see a student graduate and then something tragic happens, whether it's alcohol, drug related, or vehicle related. Those are some of the hardest things for law enforcement to deal with, see a young life cut short. So just encourage people, just be decent, relax, take a deep breath. The world's not going to end if you're a couple minutes late somewhere.
Yeah, be safe. To live another day, absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate that. So the last thing from you, I think, Chief, I mentioned if there's any legislative news. I think there was a Senate bill in particular that's made some progress that would enhance the penalty if someone is out of jail. And they go and commit another crime. So you're both nodding about that.
Yeah, so yesterday, Senate Bill 457, the governor's crime bill, was actually heard. Doesn't look like any action was taken yesterday on it, but there's several facets that are critical on this. One of them is, and again, it's been a frustration of law enforcement with bail reform, is that we arrest a criminal, we do our jobs, get them there, we've got a case, but it's going to take some time to be adjudicated, as they all do, and they're released right back to the street and continue committing crimes. And so we're kind of like the dog chasing its tail. It's we find them again, arrest them, and sometimes we're racking up multiple arrests on these folks, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7 arrests on them before they're even adjudicated on the first one. My thought would be to those who are very concerned about crime reform and justice reform is that doesn't serve the suspect either when they have all these additional arrests on them. It does not serve the public. I would like to see a lot of these laws, as the crime bill does, strengthened. Before some of the idiocy, I would just love to be able to talk to the legislators and go, if I walked in with, 28 grams of explosives, it would be front page headline news, that, there was explosive material in the Capitol. Yet people think nothing of 28 grams of fentanyl, and that will kill a whole lot more people than 28 grams of explosives. You're going to do a lot more damage. And they don't want to, make reasonable amounts on it. Same thing for larceny amounts. We've seen what's happened in California. You raise the limits, and people go right up to that limit of stealing stuff from stores, which is a huge hit to the store, but it's just a misdemeanor. And now in this state, unless they've been previously arrested or cited, you got to give them a citation. So some of these are just common sense returns. The other thing I had to laugh, one of the reference documents was the recidivism. Well, people think that means, you committed a crime after you're released. It actually means you've only committed a crime within the 3 years after release. If you commit it in year 4, 5, or 6, and it has to be a conviction, mind you, that doesn't count as recidivism. So some of their materials that they're presenting against this bill are a little bit skewed. We've seen even in little old Elko here, it can take 3, 4 plus years to get somebody adjudicated, depending on the charges, depending how the defendants act and what their counsel does. So, reasonably, we know our communities are safer when we have criminals who are not seeking a change, and I guess you'd use the word not repentant. When they're just released back out, they continue to commit crimes.
Professional criminals.
Yeah, well, we talked about Kerr earlier, just his accepted agreement here that'll put him away for hopefully another 10 years, but we sent him away last time. We did not think we'd ever see him again. He gets released, and we have a homicide.
Right, this is a homicide conviction, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So you think that's the worst of the worst, but right.
So
it's the Safe Streets and Neighborhoods legislation, and it does have the support of the governor, so hopefully it can get passed, as you said, and get to his desk.
And it has support of law enforcement. That's critical as well. The sheriff's elected, I'm appointed, people trust us to do our jobs. You should trust us. We say this is a bill we need. So I would encourage the public, you can get on there. You can essentially put your opinion in there. If you click on the Nellis site, look up SB 457. Encourage people to do that. Let your legislators know where you stand on these issues.
And that's an easy website to find. And I would mention, too, and I know you know this, Sheriff, that this is really hard on public defenders and prosecutors. I mean, they're saying the same people over and over again in many cases.
Go hang out at the jail for a day or two. Go. You sit there a week and you can see the same people. I can tell you, 2 years ago, one guy got arrested 3 times in a 4-day period, and the individual kept getting out. And then that same day, he was arrested for a burglary. Like 4 hours later, then he got released, and then he got arrested again. So it's just a rotating door, and it gets old. And with these laws, and now if you get out, and you
There'll be some
commit another
consequences.
crime, I believe they're charged as a felony, if I'm not mistaken.
I
what
think
I
it
read.
is. Mm-hmm.
So if you're out on bail or you get out and you commit a crime, they charge it as a felony. So it's kind of moving in our direction a little bit in our favor. But, it's about time it's turning in our favor. The threshold on on larceny at the stores has come down. The dope is coming back down in our favor. And so it gives us just a little bit more to tie these guys' hands and make sure that they're prosecuted and out of here.
Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate the update. I guess, and I know we've run a little over in time, and I apologize for that, but we have been talking to county officials, including Commissioner Andreozzi was on recently. They're looking at the jail expansion, right? That should be coming.
That's correct. Justin and I just met with the people last Thursday or Wednesday, I believe, and we pretty much got the plans all done. I believe we meet with them next Thursday or Wednesday, and we should get a cost of the jail. We want a big one, not a big one, but it's supposed to be an extra 46 beds. It's supposed to be all mental health. It's going to have a detox center for detox, and it's going to have a medical ward, medical wing right there. And, I took a guy to the hospital the other day for emergency surgery, got an injury to his nose, so something's always happening back there. So hopefully we get this new facility done and we move forward with it, and it should be a pretty nice center. We'll have what will be nice is we'll have the whole facility, all the mental in one spot instead of having them throughout the whole jail. Lieutenant Perry's big influence on that, and her and Justin been talking with these individuals, so we should get a price here pretty quick.
All right, Sheriff. Next time you come on, we'll talk about that. It'll appear before the county commissioners before you know it, so appreciate that. Yeah. Next time you come on, Chief, we'll be talking about your replacement, maybe introducing that person. So thank you. And just one more plug again for the Sheriff's Office annual Carl Cox Memorial Cops and Burgers. The event is June 19th in the Sheriff's Office parking lot from 11 to 2. But you can place orders now for hamburgers, hot dogs, chorizos, chips, and a drink for a donation. And there's delivery and plenty of raffle prizes too. So email your orders to Armida at the Elko County Sheriff's Office.
Thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
You so much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Good time.
Hopefully we got to everything today, gentlemen.
Yep. No, we did. We did a good job.
We appreciate your time. So thank you. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for today's Elko Live.